That was not supposed to happen, but good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition, this special Mother's Day edition of Swerve with me. This is a show where we have adult conversations for mature audiences only. We talk to people each week who have had challenges in their lives, but they're not afraid to show their scars and to speak their truth. And tonight is definitely going to be epic, y'all. I promise you, it's going to be epic. So I want to say happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there, whether you're a birth mother, adopted mother, foster mother, or you're just a woman who helped to nurture someone in the village. Happy Mother's Day to you. We thank God for you. We thank God for the contributions that you've made in your communities and your families, wherever you may be. And I want to speak to those women who may be struggling as mothers for whatever reasons. You may be having a hard time. All I know is that trouble doesn't last always. God has a way of making everything work together for your good. So hang in there. Tonight, I'm talking with people who share my DNA. We actually have the same genes, and I count it a privilege to be able to talk to people who I connect with in a way that I don't with others. These are my sisters, my blood sisters, four of them, as a matter of fact. Oh, and by the way, happy Mother's Day to Sheena, my other sister. She couldn't make it because Selena, everybody tells Selena happy birthday. Selena is celebrating her 19th birthday. So they're out celebrating with Selena. And we just want to say happy birthday, Selena. Happy Mother's Day, Sheena. And thank you so much for being here. I'm going to see if I could add Tracy in. Okay. That's wonderful. Tracy, can you hear me? Hello, Patrice. Hmm. Okay. Can the others of you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. So I'm having the show tonight with my sisters. Four women, five of us who share the same DNA. We share the same mother in common. We were blessed to have an amazing woman called Shirley Thompson in this our mother. And tonight we're going to give you a glimpse
Yes, I
into the.
can. I'm having internet issues, so I don't know.
Okay, I don't know, major
Yes, I
delay.
can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes. I don't have a major
I can
delay.
hear you.
Yes, okay. We all can hear you. We all can hear you. So, what we're going to do just to make sure that this goes kind of seamlessly is when the other person is talking, just mute your mics just to make sure. We're going to pass it along. So, I wanted to do the show because I thought it was important for the last 2 weeks. I was actually talking with Patrice, evangelist, and she was sharing her life and her experience as a teen bride herself and all that she had been through, the transitions, and how God has really healed her from brokenness and from a period in her life that wasn't necessarily the happiest for her, but it all worked together for her good. And in having that conversation with her, I wanted to sit down and talk with my sisters because I know that everybody has a story that they want to share. Tracy shared specifically that our mother was very spiritual, stern, but a spiritual woman. Um, Taught her the ways of the Lord. She talked about the family altar and all those things that we know so well. Shared time talking about that. So while she was stern and firm, in her insistence upon her being married, she talked about the other side of her too. And I thought I wanted to bring all into the conversation because each one of you had a different experience with her, gathered different things with her, and I'm sure would be able to show another side with her. My relationship, of course, was different from all of yours. And so I wanted to give each person a time to share with that. And I want to start with my missionary sister. I call Sani the missionary. Sandra Miller, my sister, she lives in North Andros and I love her dearly. She loves the Lord. She don't even care who knows. That's who she is. And when I think about Sani, I think about this person with the biggest heart. So loving, so giving, so caring, but excitable. at times, you know? And so, Sani, I want you to begin this conversation by just sharing your thoughts about what our mother meant to you and who she was to you.
Hi. A pleasant good evening. Happy Mother's Day to all. Thank you for the opportunity. My mother, a woman of strength, a woman of loyalty, integrity, or a woman that fed the Lord. Growing up as a child, one of the things that I've learned and was so special, even as I grew, was not being afraid of God, but acknowledging that God was the sovereign God, that He was the King of all kings. I remember from going into preschool, we entered into the Church of God preschool, where we were taught by the Lord. From morning till evening, you were taught by the Lord. Everything you did in our house, the Lord had to be in the center of it. And I thank God for that guidance and direction she had taught me in. Because right now I can see the fruit of it at this age now that I'm older. I thank God for her kindness when it comes to and showing us how to be loyal to people, to be a friend if you want a friend. There's so many attributes that she have instilled in us. I thank her for the times when she directed us into the like what's going on right now inside the Bahamas. I don't know what the younger parents are doing, but there was no time for idleness. There was always either brownies, Girl Scouts, the brigades, choir practice. You had to be on the door, and I mean on time. And listen here, people, there was no ride to pick you up. Everywhere you went, you had to walk. But I can tell you one thing, whatever meeting started at 5, we were present. I thank God for my mother.
See, that's the opening remarks by the Reverend Evangelist Sandra Miller right there. See, I told y'all. So I'm going to go to the next in line since Tracy is not back yet. Y'all get back in. And let's go to Esther. Esther, tell us about your opening remarks because that's looked like what I'm getting right now. Your opening remarks about your mother and
Um,
your relationship with her.
I think, first of all, happy Mother's Day, like Sani said to everybody. But I think if I had to sum up um, really my mother in one word, it would be resilient. And my mother, she's been through, and I'm sure throughout, the conversation, we'll talk about some of it, but she's been through a whole lot. And she's been through a whole lot, but she always kind of presented this can do attitude. And for me, that's where that had always been my strength, but sometimes always my weakness too. And so that's what I got from my mother. You can't just you got to keep going. You got to keep moving. It's no time to be rolling over and having a pity party, and get up and keep moving. I agree with what Sani talked about when she said, Mom, she made sure that we were properly fed the word of God. If that was the only thing, we could be hungry with physical food, but you're going to eat the word of God. You're going to be a part of, like my mother used to say, idle mind is the devil workshop. So you're not going to be idle in this house. So we were a part of some of every single thing. I don't know of a time where we did nothing. I don't even know what that means. Not to do anything, not to be idle. I don't know what that means. Just have a lot of time like watching TV, and I don't even know what that means growing up. And but mommy really, really, really instilled in us a need for God. Not just this is something you do, but a need for God. For me, I think one of the things that I really got from my mom was a strength that I think it was beyond her. I don't even know where she got the strength from, because knowing her story, she really should have been, I mean, she could have rolled over and died, and say, I'm not doing life anymore. I don't want to deal with these children. There's too many children. But she really just, there was a strength in her, and I think I got that strength from my mom as well. And like I said, some of her strength was also her weakness. And but she just loved her children, and sometimes it was hard love. Sometimes it was, you saw this course, outer shell, but at the very core of her being, she was really just a broken woman trying to find herself and trying to love her children. So that's pretty much what she was. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
beautiful.
beautiful.
I
I
think
think
at
at
this
this
point,
point,
can
can
I
I
please
please
mute your
read your
mics?
rights?
I want to
I
bring
want to
in
bring in
Tracy because
Tracy
you talked
because you
about
talked about
hard love,
hard
tough
love,
love,
tough love,
and I
and I
believe
believe
Tracy's
Tracy's
experience
experience
can attest
can
to that
attest to
in
that
some
in
regard.
some
So,
regards.
Tracy,
So,
if you can
Tracy, if
hear
you
me,
can hear me,
go ahead
go
and
ahead and
talk to us
talk to
about
us about
who your
who
mother
your
was to
mother
you.
was to. Well, growing up, it was in the home. It was me and Sani, the two oldest, and we had to take on a lot of responsibilities. Um, Sani, what we did was we just decided to split in two. Sani took two, and I took two to help mommy along with the housework and everything. And so I had Christina and Shayna. Sani had Esther and Polly. And but mommy, because she was always out working, there was a lot that we had to do. And so it wasn't until we got older that we got really, really closer, like relationship with me. Um, by the time mommy and I had gotten really close, I think Sani had left home. Sani had left home, and so mommy, growing up, I always thought mommy just didn't want me to not do anything. I was always in a prayer meeting, singing with her, reading something, doing something. I always thought, why can't I just play with everybody else? 5 a.m. prayer meeting I had to go to, tie up my head like I was 25 or something. So I guess the whole time she was grooming me, I just thought it was just, you can know God and you can know God. And so I just thought she was just beating God inside of me. I said when I got older, I wasn't going to even go to church anymore. But as I mature and grew older, we had like we got a bond, a relationship, a friendship bond. And I believe that when I got pregnant, that disappointed mommy because of what she expected from me. So all of that hard love from her was due to her disappointment because she wanted more. I couldn't understand it. I mean, I understood to some point, but I felt like still it was too hard for me then. And then shortly after getting married, mommy was right back there again, the same mommy. We were always still close because when I got married, I had to come to mommy's house every day. Every day she had to see me, come in, check in on me and the children and Fano, and we just got closer and closer and closer. And even though inside of me there was still some anger for her getting me married off so early, we just still remain always friends. We watch television together, talk about life together, talk about things because I was the oldest there now. Sani wasn't there anymore. So for me, I got to see all the sides of her. I saw the hurt, the pain, the hard person, the soft person, the one who laughed, and then through everything. It was just so many different characters of her coming out at different times. And it was based on, I think Esther said it, broken and trying to find a way to make it right and to make it work.
So, they said the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So, we're calling on the Reverend Dr. Christina Bethell right now. Good night. If you're just joining me, please tag somebody because I'm having a conversation with my sisters. These are some of the women that share my DNA, and we're talking about our individual relationships with our mother, who's now deceased, and of course, we'll be talking about the corporate relationships and the things that we share in common. So, good night to all of you. Hey, Shami. Hey, Monique. Georgina, good to have you. Hi, Joba. Thanks for tuning in, and all of you. Tag somebody else. So, Reverend Dr. Christina, please share with us your relationship and your impressions of who your mother was to you.
Good night, everyone, and happy Mother's Day to each and every one of you who are watching, and to all of my sisters, happy Mother's Day to you all. I love you. My mommy was an amazing mother. Um, like Esther said, I gleaned from her so much strength, courage, integrity. She was an extremely spiritual woman. Uh, we grew up in the things of God. We grew up learning how to pray, how to read the Bible, how to serve in the community, how to serve in church. But I believe one of the most significant things that I got from Mumi was courage, and she built my self-esteem in that because of her past and her challenges in life, she wanted better for each and every one of us, and she always encouraged us to in ways like telling myself and Esther and each and every one of us that we may live in a particular community, but we can be all that God has created us to be. Mummy strive hard to give us a single mother. Mummy gave us we had good education. That was important to her because she believed that if we sought if opportunities were afforded for us to be educated, we probably would have made better decisions in life. And so that was important to her. Mommy also had a love for people. And I don't know if Tracy spoke about this last week, but our mother cooked for the rejected, the disenfranchised, the drug addicts, right there in the community, the so called prostitutes. Mommy cooked for them. Mommy would cook breakfast for them. And Mommy would teach us this, what she would teach us, Miranda. She would teach us to present it to them in the proper way. The best plates, the best. I mean, the food was just so well designed. And she said, and give it to them like you care. And so for me, love for people, love for community, love for God, I got all of that from Mommy. But let me also say this, because I'm the last one, and Mommy had me at a late age. My sisters, my beautiful sisters who are here today, they were the ones who nurtured me more. I spent more time with Sani, spent more time with Tracy. They nurtured me. When Mommy was at work and trying to provide for the family, my sisters. And I want to say, I love you all and thank you. While Esther and I are a product of Mummy, we are also a product of your nurturing and your care and your encouragement and helping with the homework and all of those things. But Mummy was an amazing woman, a woman, of course, with much flaws, but she wanted the best for her children. And as a single mother, she trusted God, and she taught us to trust God. And we saw the hand of God moving in our lives. And I'm sure that we will have much more opportunities to talk about how God moved on our behalf. But she was a good woman, a good person who certainly just wanted more for us and encouraged us to love God, love people, and to develop ourselves academically in terms of an education.
So, of course, I wasn't raised in the household with her, but innately, I believe that as I grew older and I got to know you, all my siblings, because for those of you who aren't aware, I was raised with my father's side of the family under the same kind of heavy rule where you had to go to church all day, every day. As a matter of fact, we went to church 3 times a day. On Sundays, we did the Bible study, we did the quiet practices, we did the devotions in the house, and then you went out and you had to do Bible study at the choir practice, you wasn't only singing in our choir practice, you had Bible study before the choir practice. And then there was youth meeting. And then the Sundays was the Sunday school, the morning church, the BTU, that was the Baptist Training Union. We had that. And then we would go to night church. And so literally your life. And then I went to the Baptist school. I went to Jordan Memorial, Prince William. Ultimately, so my life was as well infused and consumed with faith and the word and the Bible and all that stuff. So that was a common thing that was happening in the household where I was raised. And when I came to my mother, I saw the same thing, where she was raising. Now, I got to tell you, what baffled me was how she did it, how she was able to manage six girls on her own. And we speak of our sister, our dearly departed sister Paulie. In this, I Paulie, hey Paulie, happy Mother's Day to you too, sis. But what amazed me was her ability to keep six girls on track by herself. Uh, I thought she was rough. I gotta tell you, I thought she was rough. But I understood it. And I got to tell you this, it wasn't until I became an adult myself, a young adult, and I put into perspective what someone so young had endured and what she was doing. Because I believe she had me. I'm the first daughter, by the way. I'm not her first child, but her first daughter. She had three sons ahead of me. So being the first daughter, I mean, she had me at the age of 20, 19, 20, which would mean that between 15 and I would say 29, I believe she would have had Christina at about 29. So you could imagine a woman having 10 children by the age of 29, if that's not strength. If and being able to maintain your sanity, being able to maintain your sanity and get out there and work hard and still train and make sure that your children were trained in the ways of God. I believe for me, I gathered that perseverance, that spirit of entrepreneurship, because she always owned something. She was running a business somewhere all the time, right? Whether it was a little dry goods store, or Nassau Street, or Blue Hill Road, or all points in between, or whether it was in the straw market, that spirit of entrepreneurship, I definitely got that. I'm always on to the next thing, as you knew. And so I saw in my mother amazing strength, an amazing grace in operation for one so young, because as we all know, she passed away at 52. At least three of us are over 52. At least three of us are over 52 already. She passed away at 52, having done so much for so many. And she was diligent and faithful to whatever she did in ministry. When she committed to something, she committed to it. So I believe that is one of the things that I inherited from her, to a fault. Being loyal and committed to a fault sometimes, because sometimes you could be too committed and too loyal that you don't know when to walk away. You don't know when to walk away. And I've had to learn that for myself. But so, in a nutshell, I concur with the sentiments of all of you: that perseverance, that strength, that love of God, that love for humanity and service. Because I believe, as it is now, each one of us is serving somewhere in some capacity because of her. Working with people, understanding people, loving people, being servant leaders and transformational leaders. But innately, that would have come from her. So that's true. Okay. So good night to you who are just joining me. I'm talking to my sisters, Sandra Miller, Patrice Edwards, Esther Dukes, Christina Bethell. Let's now talk about, going back to Sani again. Let me start with Sani, and let's talk about a time when she had to reprimand you or scold you for something? Let's think about it. I know there were many occasions, but let's just talk about one. Come on, we know there are many. So let's just talk about one that readily comes to mind. Sani, what happened, why she did it, and how did you respond? Or in hindsight, what do you think about the way she handled it or what you did as a result of it? So let's go there.
Many, it's so many. But I remember this particular turning 15. Being the oldest home, I always had to do the washing on Friday. You had to wash on Friday. By Saturday evening, you iron and pressing uniforms. So I said, sitting at the table, I think it was the breakfast table, I said, I'm going to be 15 tomorrow, and I'm washing nobody else's clothes. But I remember getting my teeth almost knocked out of my mouth. She swung her hand over the table and she hit me in my mouth. But guess what? We ended up in the washer within 2 weeks. You guys remember the old washer that used to put the clothes through the wringer? Anyone remember that? And she just was a disciplinary. And then I had the other incident where I thought she was being hard, but I didn't understand at the time. You could not go there and ask her to go anywhere. No sleepover, no going out, no nothing. And I was turned, I think I just finished high school, going on 18 or 19, a little before I moved into Andros. And she said, me and my friend at the time, she said, I'm not telling you when to go, but you're not going 3 or 2 nights out of this house. You need to pick the night you're going. She told me and Barbara, I don't know how many of you remember Barbara, but most of the time, it was all for our good. Now that I'm old, I understand. I understand. You would get mad, but young people, you will not understand until you mature or get older.
Okay. I'm gonna jump and
Real,
go to Oh, sorry, you weren't finished?
go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to jump to Christina because yeah, yeah, I want to go. Christina, let's talk. Let's talk. Let's let the people know. Okay. Okay. So Christina, come on, come share some of your stories.
Miranda, I really don't have any specific stories because I was being reprimanded. Mute?
No, you on. Why you just
Oh,
muted yourself.
Esther was doing something. Yeah, from my
Esther was doing
understanding,
that to say she have
yeah,
some
from my
stories.
understanding, and from all of my older sisters, I was being reprimanded all the time because of my mouth. So I always got reprimanded. I just had to explain. I only wanted to explain. I always had an explanation, but I remember a specific one. I believe that I was in the 10th grade, and was I always maintained like a 3 point, 3.1, 3.2, and this specific semester. And remember now, mommy was a single woman struggling to pay our school fees. Okay, she was a single woman. And so I remember being reprimanded, but mommy had a thing but slapping in the mouth. Just, my cousins, my cousins used to call it the marble slap. Can we be real? Mommy and Auntie Rose used to give us a marble slap. And so I remember dropping from my GPA decreasing from a 3.3 maybe to a 2.8. And I remember my Spanish teacher, when we passed that class, I tried to rush her past the class, and that woman was like, come. And mommy went to her, and of course, she told mommy that I was keeping bad company and all of that. When we got in the car, mommy said, don't you know that I'm a single mommy trying to do my best to plot? I could, yeah, and guess what? I never made a 2.8 again in my life. Well
So it
understood.
worked. Whatever it was, it worked,
It
huh?
did. It did. But I am one who was being disciplined because of my mouth all the time. And that's what I don't remember it, but that's what you all say. That's what you say.
Okay. Come on, Esther, jump on it.
And then Miranda, can I
Go ahead. Go ahead, Christina.
go? Oh, I was also going to say that I don't have too much. Remember now, I was the last one. It was Tracy and Sani who used to be, and Esther. Well, no, yeah, Tracy, Sani, and Holly who got those serious reprimand for doing certain things. Now I don't want to tell their stories, but I couldn't do much. My whole life was I was in band practice and the bait clubs, choir practice, girls brigade, mommy just had me on this thin line, and I just did what you said, you know, because I fed her. I fed God, but I also fed her. We all did. Tell the truth.
Okay, Esther.
First of all, Christina was bad. I'm just telling you. Christina used to get us in trouble for everything. I mean, they call it a tattletale. Christina told everything. Now she didn't tell her business, the bad stuff she did, but it was all she told. Christina, all we just could not stand Christina growing up. I'm telling you right now. But anyway, moving right along. I'll never forget. I remember I was dating this guy, and I had already graduated high school, and I was only 16. Graduated high school, and so mommy told us it was me and Sheena. Mommy told us we can go out. I think we went to the carnival. So it was me, Sheena, the guy I was dating, don't want to call his name, and she told us to be back by 11 o'clock. So we really good kids. So mommy allowed us to go out, and we had a flat tire. I mean, honest to God. And there was no cell phone back then. So we couldn't call to tell mommy we were running late. We got home. First of all, the fear of God was in. Now, it wasn't even 12 o'clock yet. Man, and my heart just beating because I was like, Lord. And then we saw the lights off. So me and Sheena trying to sneak in. We got in the kitchen when we flipped the light on. When I tell you, I thought I was just going to pass out with a heart attack. Y'all coming to my house 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, it ain't even 12 o'clock yet. She just exaggerating. Y'all coming in my house 1 o'clock in the morning. What y'all been doing out there? And mommy ran on and on. And I'm thinking, I couldn't even do nothing because Sheena was with me. So ain't nothing I could do, Do you know we were supposed to, it was during Christmas time because it was a carnival. We were getting some new cabinets. Mommy made me and Sheena take I'm talking about we had hammer and we were taking all the cabinets down, all of them, until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Mommy made me and Sheena take out all the cabinets, all of it. And then afterwards, we went to bed and we had to get up the next day, kind of like early. I was so tired and she didn't care. She didn't care. But I will never forget that. Because to this day, mommy never believed me. She never, ever, ever believed me. Now, one more thing. Paulie in there, so I got to tell Paulie's story. Paulie used to like to go to the club. She used to like sneak out and go to the club. So I used to stay up, me and Christina sometimes, because we know Paulie was going to bring us chicken in the bag. So we would stay up to open the door for Paulie, So this one day, mommy caught on to what was going on, and mommy made an announcement. Mommy told us, if you a woman enough to open my door when I close it, try it. And that's what she did. Mommy nailed down the window.
Oh my goodness.
Mommy, we had those windows you just push up.
Windows.
She took the hammer and nailed it down, and she told us, if you woman enough, you open my door. So Paulie gave the little knock. No, she used to throw the rock upstairs. She used to throw the rocks and knock, in the window so we could hear her. And I looked down and I said, I can't open up the door, Paulie. So I wrap a blanket and a pillow and drop it down. Paulie
my gosh, because she could not come inside. You dare
I
not.
wasn't woman enough to open no door. I don't care what she was bringing me that night. I was Shirley Brown. I had the fear of God.
Just amazing. Just amazing. She had what you call a rulership over her home.
I
Definitely.
wasn't playing. I wasn't playing with her.
Definitely. Tracy, let's hear your story.
Your story. Well, I hardly got beaten. I was like the good girl. And most time I got beaten, it was because of Sani. And I always thought my sister was so soft that I had to always defend her. I defended her against our older brothers. I defended her against mommy. I defended her against anybody. Most time I got beaten, it was Christina took a little bit after me, my mouth. If I said something to her and I said, but you shouldn't do that. And so she'd say, so who's the mother? And so when I get beating, it was covering for Sani. When her and my other cousin went out to the club or whatever, they dress up like they grown people. I'm sitting on the side of the window to open for her the same way like Esther. And mommy walks down and look at me and say, go to bed. And I will deal with you later. So the only one time I didn't get to open the window for Sani. And when Sani came through the window, I heard her calling me. I couldn't move. And so when she came through, mommy finished drying her through. Oh. Mommy drying her through. Mommy said, oh, you're looking for Tracy, eh? So most of my, and then I never liked, mommy knew I didn't like being talked too loud. So she'd talk to me, I'd cry if you talk to me loud. If you beat me, I just look at you. So she didn't waste her time beating me. I just look at her and I'd say, you finish yet? And that would make her even more angry. So, but I just thought I had to be a defender for two people, Sani and Christina. And that's where the Christina called it the marble slap. When Sani and I were growing up, it was the backhand slap. So I took plenty backhand slap in my mouth. Actually, there was one time Sani wore one of my shoes and I told her to take it off. Mommy took that shoe, that same shoe, beat me in my mouth. So I was always getting hit in my mouth. I just like to talk. No wonder we're the preachers.
It's about yeah, Sally, I can't from the set without you saying something about this going out and sneaking in the night and stuff.
Yeah. That morning when Tracy couldn't rescue me, I meet mommy right on the top step with her hand up on the chin. Say, good morning, Sandra, Barbara. And I asked her not to come in here 1 o'clock in the morning. I tell you, I don't know how she did it, but I am so happy she did. I am so happy she did. We went, Tracy, you remember that time we took, I took you to the pilot. My sister spent 15 minutes in the disco and never went back in her life. And I was trying to keep her there so I could have stayed. And man, I tired of this noise. I can't take this noise. But she was afraid of what mommy was going to say when we get home. Tracy never went back. But I thank God for the growing up from mommy teaching. And also through the teaching, it cost me, I think I was the last one to really confess. Because we are always in the church, always active. But I watched my sisters under me. And you too, Miranda. I watched you all as role models and living for Christ for so long. And I thank God for the example that mommy set, that we were able to follow. And then we were able to be a mold, a guideline for each other. I don't know how the mothers do it now. But Shirley and his brown Thompson. I remember, by the way, that of me talking, I remember when I got pregnant. I was about 25. I came home and I told my mom that I was having a baby. And listen here, mommy carry on so bad at the age of 25 now. But it's something that when parents don't want you to deal with what they had to deal with. And I remember my brother Sandy saying to me, after she done care us about, he said, you gonna make sure it's at 10. And this your first one? Go try of it, baby. She wanted nothing to come. And Tracy, the reason why I think she was angry with you, on a serious note about being pregnant. Remember now, mommy always was mentoring other young people.
Mhm. That's true because
Tracy?
she was like the girls' brigade captain or something
Yes,
forever and
yeah,
ever.
Yeah, she was always mentoring you.
yes, I know. Yes.
Okay, so we've heard about the loyal ninja that she was in the nighttime, accosting accosting people and stopping criminal acts, etc. In the household. We heard about the backhand, the what you call it, Tracy, the marble, the something, and the backhand slap, and whatever Christina called it. We heard about that, but now I want us to shift our attention now to, again, personally, and I want to start this one with Christina. Of all of the attributes that you can think of that would describe her, what, how do you see her in you the most? The most. How do you see her in you the most as a woman, first of all, and then secondly, as a mother, because you are the mother of two children. So, how do you see her being manifested in you?
I believe mommy's influence in and over my life is manifested most by way of my love for people and my love for humanity. Service. That was Mummy. That was the sum total of who Mummy was. Um, and also as it relates to my children, I would have adopted the same family devotions while Mary and Dia don't get up. They're not, we don't wake them up 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning to do devotions uh, before school. Um, we certainly do have devotions several times a week. And that is important. That sustained me. And it is sustaining them too. And so those are the two areas. Another area, entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial skills. Um, no matter how much I may educate myself, I always find myself working for myself. I always find, these skills, these abilities to develop stuff, to give birth to stuff, to create stuff. That was Mummy. That really was Mummy. But most of all, Miranda. Most of all, the service to humanity and the love for God and the spirituality. They the three distinct qualities that I would have gotten from Mummy that I apply in my life, in the life of the children also. Those three right there.
Okay, let's go to Esther.
It's so many, but I would say really my heart of compassion. Mummy was a very compassionate person. She really believed in, you see a need, fill it. And so I feel like, you know, that's what I really got from mom. I remember there were times we would see kids around the community in our clothes. I mean, like, okay, we don't even have a lot to wear. Why you got on my skirt, on my shoes? Well, Shirley Brown gave it to them. And so, and I feel that's a part of me. I can't, it's difficult for me to see people needing, and whether I have a lot or I have just enough, I feel like I have to give it to them. And really just a servant's heart, a heart to serve, regardless of where, where you're serving, especially in the house of the Lord. It doesn't have to be a big title. I ain't no reverend, I ain't no evangelist or none of that stuff. But it's really, I just love to serve, and I believe I got a heart of compassion. So
Tracy.
Well, Miranda, for me, um, like like Christina and Esther said, this we've seen when we served, we've seen her love people. We've seen when we share our last with people. Sometimes we used to look on our plate and like, excuse me, how could she share this with somebody? And it didn't matter how much was there. If somebody was to our house, they were going to eat too. And that's just the person I am today. When we couldn't stand to see people hurt, I watched people hurt my mother and didn't allow us to say a word. And I'm still the same way too. And my children would say, "Oh, you're letting people walk on you." But mommy taught us that nobody can walk on you. When you belong to God, nobody can harm you. And so nobody's taking advantage of you, nobody's taking your things. And so the just being kind and caring and loving. I'm telling you, even the Sani and I, where us two being the oldest, mommy trained us to love. And so even with Christina saying that we were there for them because mommy taught us to be like her so that we could help her with them. And so everything about my mother, about mommy, I see it in myself, even in my older sister, because that's just us. And I wouldn't tell a story, but she's the same way. Her house is open to everybody. And I'm the same way. My children, like, you don't tire the people. People always calling you, but that's, it feels like it takes nothing from me. And I don't know how to be unkind to people. Even when people hurt me, I can only respond in love. But one of the things that messed me up was that I thought that when you're nice to people, that people are nice to you. And I had to learn that the hard way. But all of that. And then there were some skills Mummy had. I I think a part of her, each part of her that she had, I believe I took a part of because I even did interior designing. I made my own curtains. I made my own bedspread. I made things for me. I didn't go on a scale like some other sisters would have gone. But everything that she did with her hands, I could have done. If I want to sew me a skirt, I can sew it, but I never explored into going far. But that's just because Mommy was just an awesome leader. She knew how to lead and got people to follow her because she didn't ever have to say much. Just by her doing what she did, we just hold on to it, pick it up, and run with it. And so I believe that just her being a leader and a kind person, just kind, just so kind. That's all. Like kind to the point where sometimes I used to think it was simple, but just kind to people everywhere. Anybody could have come and gotten anything from us. And that's just who I am.
Yes.
Sorry, that's me. Sani, what about you? What parts
Yeah.
of her do you see manifested in your life and in your daughter or even your grandchildren?
Driven, just a hard worker, entrepreneur, always thinking about ways to sustain yourself. I find myself loving people. I remember when Esther first opened up with saying you don't ever think yourself above others. I had an opportunity. I had a gentleman came to clean the yard a couple of years ago, and I never drink the tap water. And but there was only a little bit of water inside my good water in my bottle, and I went to make the tea, my coffee, and used the tap water for the gentleman. And I remember the voice said, "You're not gonna drink it. Do not give it to him." So I had to end up making the coffee or the good water for him. And wait till she came home to get the good water to make my coffee. Mommy had so much, and one of the biggest word they kept saying, Swerve. She stayed in humility. She never taught herself too high or too low to have a ride. She always stayed on that humble. She was a great follower. And I think that's what made her a great leader. But I'm thank God for the everything she instilled. I believe each and every one of us get some type of quality. Like Esther was the one always stayed by the machine. I never like sewing the uniforms and stuff. I can see her doing those hook and eyes and the hemming, but it's always something. It's always a help. Right now, if there's a group come up to do something, I can get on board. I will be the first. I will be the first to do it. I say, come on, team, let's go, let's do it. I'm always purpose driven. It's very purpose driven.
Let me just read a couple of the comments. Bridget says, "Hello, beautiful sisters. Hats off to your mom. Strict indeed. She did an awesome job raising you all powerful women of God in ministry, some way or the other. Happy Mother's Day." Elder Inslee says, "If parents would do the same thing to their children today, it would be a better world." Georgina Starb says, "Yes, she was my Captain Shirley Brown. Strict she was." Erica says, "Love the stories. I thank God for my mom. She never spared the rod. As a matter of fact, my oldest sister was the disciplinarian, only 8 years older, but she used to give my two brothers and I some good cut behind. The tamarind switch. Oh my world. But I thank God for it." Erica says, "Reminds me a lot of my mom and my family. Happy Mother's Day to all." Definitely. I I it's at the place for me that people who would have known her and know that I am my her daughter, whenever they meet me, they tell me how they see her in me. And they just go on, and these would have been people literally would have known her from she was a child. And that always amazes me, because I see me in her. I see her in me, rather. I see the disciplinarian. Y'all know how I am. I see the disciplinarian. I see the hard work. I mean, working to the point almost of fainting or passing out, but you just get the work. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
did not pick up the designer gene. I could tell y'all that. I didn't pick that up at all. But Sonny has the designer gene because she
Yeah.
would do event decorating, that kind of stuff. Tracy has it. Esther has it. I think me and Christina miss that gene. We really got it now. We can tell you that look good, right? We like how that looked. Yeah, no, I don't like that one, but I didn't get the designer gene at all. But definitely everything else, the traits, the being committed, the being firm, that servant leadership, that not thinking of
Mm-hmm.
yourself higher than you ought to be. But I gotta add this in. There was a sense of pride now, y'all. Gotta come on. Come on now. Y'all talk with humility, but some pride was in there. Because remember now,
Yeah.
this is where we have the real adult conversation. The woman had some
Yeah.
pride in her. And definitely,
But,
come on. Definitely.
mm-hmm.
And by extension, I think the only two I would say who kind of escape it is Esther and Sani. There's some pride. Come on, that Tracy, Miranda, and Christina still working on. Come on, come on.
What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Let's call it what it is. You may not see it, Christina, you may not see it, but others see it. You may not see it. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's calling what it is and knowing that there's still work. You're still developing. You're still growing. You're still learning. You're still becoming. You're still being pruned and you're still being transformed. So that's not a bad thing at all. That's not mean to cast dispersion. But there was a sense of pride. Let's talk about this wonderful designer now. What I did learn was how to to do those bags, because when I would come by in the summer, I didn't like it. But I'd get caught
Mm-hmm.
up in the whole sewing the raffia, the flowers, and the different designs on the straw bags and of it to help to stitch up the bags and all that stuff. I would get caught up in it, but that was certainly not a joy for me at all. I only did it because I was there and I was
Yeah.
past the bag, and but I'm glad I learned how to do it because I could still do that to this day.
Yeah.
If I want to do it, I can still do it, but that would have never been a career choice for me. Let's just put it like that. It just never Esther, I want to start with Esther because Esther has so encapsulated all that she was as a designer and taking it to the next level. So, Esther, tell us about um, the how you used to get those warnings about her sewing machine when you wanted to go and use it to do whatever you were doing, and your whole love for design and all that you're doing now, and your most recent launch of the House of Shirley. So let's talk about that.
So I remember mommy would call me. I'm talking about 2 o'clock in the morning to help her, thread the needle. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not like I was just like, "Ooh, I'm so happy to do this." Like all these children you got, why are you calling me to help you 2 o'clock in the morning? So, but she would just constantly call me and ask me, and then I started helping her because she used to make like uniforms for different schools. And so I started helping her out during the uniform seasons, and she used to let me get my little money. So I have my little money. And then, mommy was very creative. And I think there are some people say there are some things that are taught and there are some things that are caught. I think I caught some things from her. There are certain things she taught me, but a lot of it was just caught. So I kind of just developed an eye. That's like sewing. They call it like music. You can be what they call it. You can have an ear for music, or
Hmm.
you can be trained. And I think I had a kind of like an ear for fashion and clothing, because a lot of things I didn't need a pattern to do it. So I just kind of thought about it in my head, and then I just started making it. And so I was able to do all of that. Fast forward, I came here, got into dance ministry. And for a long time, I wouldn't touch a machine. And then I just had this urge, just to start designing dance um, garment for people, for different churches, and for myself. And I started doing that and still do it. I still, everything that I wear, that I dance in, I make my own stuff, and I make for other friends too. I design just unique design for like mid dance ministers. So I do that. But also, I wanted to do something to honor mom and to really just carry on her name. Mommy was a seamstress. She also, I don't know if a lot of people knew this about her, we knew, but she made her hats. At the time, I didn't understand what millionaire meant, because I don't think that was a phrase we used back then. But a millionaire is really somebody who make hats, period, all type of hats, fascinator, whatever. And I kind of learned that as I was doing my research. But mommy would make the most beautiful hats. Everything she wore, for the most part, even if she bought it, she was going to rip it apart and put it back together the way she wanted it. And so I really wanted to just kind of build a legacy, because we are her legacy anyway in the word of God. So we're already doing that. But I wanted something else to carry her name. And so we built the House of Shirley. The House of Shirley, we starting off with fascinators. So eventually we're going to get into different, more like boutique style clothing, just different stuff like that. But for right now, it's we sell fascinators. And so if you want to visit our website, is www.houseofshirley, and that's SHIRLE.com. We actually have a sale going on for Mother's Day, and we're going to continue on into next week. So I'm also going to, I've created a discount code, and Miranda, you can put that up. It's just Swerve. So if you put discount code in Swerve, you'll get 20% off whatever you purchase. So yeah,
Okay. So, do you think she would wear your designs?
I think
The
she would.
hats, like the faters. Do you think she would wear them?
Here's the thing, I think she would, but she will tell me, well, I think you need to add this. Or so she wouldn't wear it, but she would have to customize it, So it's not
Right.
gonna be, I just like it. I like that, but
But
but she was gonna add something to it. So I'm trying my best to, like I said, the hats that I have, the fascinators are really nice, but it's nothing compared to what Cheryl's used to wear. Nothing.
mhm. Yeah, she was definitely one of a kind. Okay, so what stands out? I asked you, what parts of her do you see in yourself or your children or your grandchildren? And now I want to ask you, what is it that when you think about her life, when you think about her life, all that she's been through, all that she has instilled in you by faith through being a part of ministry, etc. Is there a particular saying or something that she would do that you find yourself doing or saying yourself? Anyone can jump in. Anyone can jump in.
Miranda, you said something you said about pride. First, I wanted to say that I think seeing a lot of that in me from mommy, the pride spirit came not because, not like you said, it's not a bad thing, but for the way that she raised the old me and Sani as the older ones was that nobody is better than you. You may not have, but nobody has to know that. Whatever little you have, always look good. Nobody, we couldn't tell people if we were hungry. We got a beating one time for that. Sally took some food from the neighbor and she tell mommy when she reached, she thought she was doing something good. And Sally took a good beating for that. I didn't get the beating, but she got the beating. But that was the kind of pride we had, that when how we presented ourselves, that we were supposed to look a certain way. We were supposed to act a certain way, that the world was supposed to see us a certain way. And so when that pride built on me like that, I didn't know how to accept things from people because I always thought I was the one always having to give people. And I see a lot of that in me from me. Actually, like you say, we're still a work in progress, still working on that, still feel kind of a little funny when people give me things because I'm thinking, mommy always give. I'm supposed to always be giving things, never going to ask anybody for anything. I'm like, no, I'll talk to God and then God will talk to you. It's like that. It's hard. I'm working on it, but I see so much of that. I see so much of mommy, even in dealing with my children. Like mommy was a person when you see her got frustrated and she was tired, she just raised her hand up and she said, Father, I stretch my hand to you. When you see her say that and she walk off, you better be quiet because when she coming back, you ain't gonna like when she come back. So this I find myself doing the same things, even though I said I'll never beat my children the way we were beaten. But that's how I respond like that. I just lift my hand up and I'm like, you know what? I say no more. Once I don't say no more, they already know they need to start getting in order. And the look, all she had to do was look at us. When I give that look, everybody scatter. Everybody just scatter and they gone because they're like, she mad now. So I see, sometimes I see so much of me and mommy, it's almost frightening, especially dealing with my children. And often I remember one of the ministers at Bethel Church said to me, you've become your mother. And I said, what are you talking about? Because I was dealing with something with Father and he said, you have become your mother. And he just laughed. And I said, wow, it is amazing how children live what they learn. But it's so much I see that I couldn't even name it all. So much of mommy. I look in the mirror and I look at myself and say, girl, your name Tracy? You don't name Shirley. And so I have to remind myself over and over that too much I see a lot of mommy coming out in me. And like Esther said, she designer hats, everything. I hardly buy anything. I hardly buy any. When I buy my hats, I design them. I fix them how I want, fix them, my hats, my fascinator, my clothes, anything I buy and I want it to look a certain way, that's what I'm going to do because I learned that from her.
I think
I think
for me,
for me,
for years I thought this was like this phrase was in the Bible until I realized it wasn't in the Bible. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Mommy would tell us that all the time, and I promise you, I thought that was a scripture somewhere, which I never found the scripture, because my even with all the children, mommy never kept a nasty house. This mommy was one of the cleanest woman I know. I'm talking about her bedroom was immaculate, regardless of what we had or didn't have. You know, she always took a bath before she went to bed, and she just did not like nasty houses. 2 o'clock in the morning, you let mommy just wake up to go in the kitchen to get some water or something like that. And it was supposed to be one of, you know, we used to like try not to wash the dishes and hide them in the oven, you remember? Mommy would wake us up 2 o'clock in the morning. She don't care if we have to go to school the next day and we had to wash those dishes. So she didn't play with that, you know. And you know, I see people have one kid in the house look a hot mess. Shirley Brown didn't do that. But I honestly really thought that cleanliness is next to godliness was in the Bible. And I thought that was like a Bible verse we were reciting all the time. And come to find out it wasn't. And then spare the rod, spoil the child. I mean, of course that's in the Bible. My mother lived by that. She believed that if you beat your child, they won't, what the scripture said, if you beat your child, they wouldn't shame you or something like that. And so those were things that mommy used to just, I mean, she would constantly say these things. But I'm telling you, that's better. I mean, the cleanliness is next to godliness. You couldn't tell me that was in the scripture until I realized it. Oh my goodness, I was fooled all my life.
For me, my thought comes in the terms of songs. My mother or our mother, she loved to sing. She loved to sing. She sang hymns all morning, all day, you know, cleaning. She just had she just loved to sing and worship God. But there is two things, particularly when Mommy transitioned and went to be with the Lord. Mommy was such a significant figure in all of our lives. I can't explain y'all experiences, but I was devastated because she had so much influence in my life, you know, and I didn't know how I would have made it, but it was the God factor, the God factor, the spirituality, the songs that she taught us, particularly even me, because mommy played. Now Esther will laugh at this, but mommy played the organ, and of course I was musical. I played little sax and now we behave yourself, Esther, and of course the clarinet. But mommy, I had keyboards, and mommy went out and she purchased me a huge organ, y'all, and all of the hymns, all of the hymns. Y'all remember mommy and I used to sit together every night in shady green pastures, so rich and so small. God leads his their children along footprints of. I was the one. Esther was the one who did the sewing, but I sat on the side of her, and you know, she would say E flat, B flat, you know, A flat. And so we would sing together, and that is the part people don't see it publicly, but that is the part that keeps me, Miranda. And that tis so sweet to trust in Jesus. I get solemn and solace from all of those hymns and all of that. And Mummy had a favorite song, and the song was "I Don't Know About Tomorrow." And in times of life's uncertainties and struggles, listen, I know that the God of providence is going to bring me through. You know, because that's what Mommy taught us. Mommy taught us that. Y'all remember our favorite, there were two favorite hymns at her bedside every morning. One was "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus," and the other was, what, Tracy, help me again.
The Lord will make a way somehow.
No, that was the family one. Yeah, it was so sweet to trust in Jesus, and when it comes back to me, I'll say, Tracy, not that one. But in any event, that part of Mummy is a part of me. You know, that it's deeply ingrained in me when I'm driving, when I'm meditating. And Mummy was also a woman who didn't keep company. And Miranda, I believe I got that from her. I don't keep company. when I didn't preach, when I didn't teach, when I didn't lead, when I didn't. I am home to the point that my ex-travel would say, why don't you go out? Put these books down. Do stuff to go. I don't keep company. Mommy never, she was not a company person. She was her God, her children, and her songs were her company. And it's the same thing with me.
Wait, one more thing. I just need to clarify this. Christian, you were great on the saxophone, but I wish my dad, Sister Polly, was here. You were horrible on the organ. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was not
But
music to our ears. Mommy love it. That was
mommy
your
loved it.
honor. She was supposed to love it. We
She
did
loved it.
not like it. We did not like it. I'm
Miranda, she loved it, and they tried to discourage me. But mommy did not allow them to. Mommy said, play, baby, play. You get this, play, baby. Hmm.
I think Miranda, Esther and Christina, do you know there's a huge age difference between us? And so, like I said, with Sani and I, we were trained to be the leaders. And so our songs was the Lord will make a way somehow, and my God is real. So, but Mommy had so many songs. Christina is so right. There's so many songs. And I think Christina, one of those songs was Till the Storm Passes Over. She used to love to sing, Keep Me Safe Till the Storm Passes Over, because and now with Christine and Esther growing up as teenagers, I was already married. And so coming there in the daytime for them to tell me the stories of what happened and what didn't happen. And so Mommy and I was more on a level like now friends. Because I'd say, you think you had to do that? Or why did you do that? And then she'd say, you're going to see one day, you can see just what I'm talking about. So at that point, we were already away from home and everything. And so their experiences, but I do remember us coming together. I see you right with Christine, just going poing, 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 just playing her songs. We were always musical. Mommy even taught us to play the comb. Somebody was beating on the books. Somebody was playing the comb. Mommy was playing the keyboard, and we just loved music. And I'm the same way. My children and I, we did the same thing growing up. That's me too. Walking through the house, all I do is singing and cooking and cleaning it because that's just how Mommy was. And so those songs, she so right. Let me tell you something. Recently, I had to deal with something in ministry, and I can tell you the songs what came to me from Reach Out and Touch the Lord and God Never Fails. All those songs what Mommy used to sing with us, all of them just came flooding, just flooding up. And I was just singing those songs. Keep me safe. Tell the storm over. My God is real. All of those things. Listen, it really enriches you when the time comes and you needed it. Because that's what we heard. That's what we knew. When pain hit her, you always knew when she was hurting. She sang. She sang and she just keep talking scriptures and walking through the house and singing, and you don't know what's going on. Don't let mother
Tracy gone. Tracy internet.
Jump in, Sonny. What are your memories?
And I remember her as a worshiper. And one of her favorite words, little is much when God is in it. She always said little was much. And I find myself being like that. You could bring me the smallest amount of food. You could bring me the smallest amount of decoration. Whatever you bring and my hand touch it, I'm gonna make happen with it. I have some kids to this day, they said, Auntie Sandy will feed the 10,000. You could have all this food to the different function. And some people will say, oh, it ain't enough for everybody. But if you put me behind that, I guarantee you everybody's gonna eat.
Mhm.
Nobody's gonna walk away. So I think that's one of the attributes there that is still with me, just making much of little.
Mhm.
Making so much memory flooding back. So much memory flooding back. And all the hymns of faith. There, my God, to thee. Master, speak thy servant hear it.
Go ahead, missionary. See, I tell you, missionary getting off right now. That's my missionary sister. Listen, all of us
Miranda,
definitely the hymns. Go ahead, Christina.
Miranda, I wanted to say one thing before you go, before you went on. But let me just interject. And I played all of those songs, D
Yeah.
flat, A flat, E flat, and all of I played all of them. But I want to say this, Miranda, and I don't know if Esther remember it. I don't know if this particularly happened when Esther was there, but Mommy was so proud of you, Miranda. Oh, she
Mm.
was so proud of you. Mummy would
Mhm.
use you as an example for us. She would tell us, I remember when you were off to university and just doing, what you
Yeah,
do.
on the
What you did,
school.
and Mummy
Yeah,
was so proud, and she would often call us together, and she would,
true.
when you would write her a letter, used to write her letters, and she never read us everything, but she would read pieces of it, and she would,
Excited.
that
Get it.
your eldest sister, is a model, and I want you all to follow in that way. And I
Mhm.
never told you that, but she was extremely
Yeah.
proud of you, and she told us to look up to you. She did. She was proud of you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
all right, you almost tried to make me cry there.
it is
But
true.
I knew she was proud of me because she told me. She told me. And that was important. Tracy mentioned that, her marrying, at 18 and then becoming friends. We really were friends. My mother and I were friends, and I could recall, I believe it was sometimes Esther, you would call me or something when, like, y'all were young adults still living at home. I remember this vividly, and like maybe somebody, a young man or somebody would come by to visit, just sitting down in the house visiting, and she would like come in when it was time for them to go start closing the curtains and making sounds and marching in the kitchen too much and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's the signal right there. This person has been here too long and it's time for them to go. I'm hearing this extra
Hmm.
feedback. So I could remember getting phone calls and having conversations with her and saying, listen, you are a blessed woman because you have adult daughters and you could account for every single one of them. You know where each one of them are. They are in your house, whatever. And so she and I those kinds of conversation, and I was like, you have to give them room to grow. You have to allow them to be young ladies. And so I can remember having those kinds of conversations with her, like, Charles, you gotta ease up. You gotta allow them to be young women and to become. But she loved her children. She was super protective of all of you, every single one. As a matter of fact, I remember there's so much stuff. But I remember when Christina, when you got married, I was a little insulted by what she told me, but but let me tell you what she told me. She said, Miranda, it ain't look like you won't get married. But my baby already this is what she y'all know how she was, like really blunt to the point when she got ready. And this is by the way when she was in hospital, because shortly after you married, she said to me, we were having a conversation about life, all these kind of things. She said, well, I know but you, because it look like you won't get married. But my baby girl that married, and now I could go home. That's what she told me because she was so determined that she wanted each of you to be all right, whatever that meant. And because Christina was married, as far as she was concerned, my work was done. And I was like, okay. I was feeling some kind of way about that. Like, you didn't write me off. Like, come on, lady. It ain't over yet. But she loved and she cared for and she was so concerned. And that was part of the reason why I know that she too pushed Tracy into the marriage because she wanted to know that Tracy was taken care of. That was her desire, that you be taken care of. And so that she didn't have to worry. And she figured, as I believe most people that age group and stuff feel like, when my children married, they are right. My work is done, that kind of stuff. But yeah, she literally told me that. Like, child, my baby done married now. So whatever, you could be all right, Miranda. 'Cause it ain't look like you trying to get married or anything like that. But She told me how proud she was of me. And she never spared an opportunity to do that. She never spared. What amazed me is how much she kept track of my accomplishments. She tracked, I'm talking, and this ain't like university, I'm talking like from primary school. She would tell me about things that, and I always wondered, how did you know or what happened? But she literally tracked my life. So even though I may not have been in that house with you guys and with her, she was fully engaged in what was happening with me, and she would tell me every opportunity she got about how proud she was of me and her desires for all of you. And that meant a lot to me. I really didn't feel the pressure of trying to really be anyone or anything in particular, because I was just being, to my best, trying to embrace and engage all that God would have me to be. But she really, 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 really loved her girls and boys. So the boys go without saying. And the only reason the boys aren't here is because the boys didn't grow up in the house with her. But I wanted y'all to be able to share these stories. But yeah, she loved the children. She loved the children, and I believe she loved everyone equally but differently. That's how I'm going to put it. Equally but differently. Everybody, it was just different. And so I don't know. Tracy looked like she got knocked out. Yeah.
Miranda,
So
can I say something real quick?
sure.
I remember, you talked about how what she said to you, when Christina got married, and I'll never forget. After Mommy died, I kind of felt a bit. I felt like, well, did she not love me or something? Why she couldn't wait, for me? Because by the time as I got there, she wasn't able to speak anymore. I know she heard me because I was talking to her, and I would see tears, coming down her. But I honestly, for many years, I felt like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have gone, off to college. Maybe she was disappointed that I went, and maybe I broke her heart because I left, and which I left just to go to school. I didn't leave like we were upset. She was upset with me. And I'll never forget, and then, of course, I stayed in the US afterwards. But I'll never forget, just really feeling the burden and the weight of, why couldn't I have a conversation with her before she left? And I had, two persons God had to really talk. I mean, once she sent me a card, and she said, Esther, your mother loves you. She's not disappointed in you. And I mean, that kind of sounds elementary, but for what was going on in my heart at the time, I was just feeling like unwanted and rejected and all of these things. And, I felt like all of my sisters had that opportunity to, see her at her lowest and kind of take care of her. And I didn't have that opportunity. And I've also felt like, Sheena in particular, and Sheena and I, we already had this conversation, so I can say this, but I felt like I remember talking to Sheena, a couple of days, and this when Mommy had first gone into the hospital, and I would call, and Sheena will always give me excuses, telling me, well, she can't come to the phone now, or just give me all type of excuses. So I didn't really even know Mommy was in the situation she was in. And it wasn't until Tracy said she called me, but I remember when Joy called me, my cousin called me and said, hey, Esther, you need to get home now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, Charles isn't doing well. So I called Sheena back. I had already had a conversation with Sheena. I called Sheena back and I said, Sheena, how is Mommy doing? Oh, she's doing fine. You don't need to worry about it. And I ended up coming, coming home. But I had that conversation with Sheena last year, and I said, Sheena, and I told her how I felt. I said, Sheena, I really felt like you robbed me from something. It was not your job to tell me, that you wanted me, Mommy wanted me to be here, but I wanted to be there, and I felt like you robbed me from that, and I had to release that because I really had that. I had an issue with that. I had an issue that, during my mother's last days, I could have been there, and I was not afforded that opportunity because what you felt like I should have, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, or whether that's how maybe mom told her that, I don't know. But I really felt like I was robbed from those last moments with my mom because of, I want you to do well in school and not to worry about it. But like I said, we already talked about that. But I just really wanted to bring that up. That we can't play God, or we can't play, what's the word I want to say? What you think is better for me, you need to give me that opportunity to make that decision. And so if I'm telling you, I mean, I had to let that go. And that's, really Tracy talked about forgiveness. I had to let that go. I also had to really allow the Lord to soften my heart with the fact that, Christina got married. Now I'm not going to see my mother when I get married, which I got married later in life. But she saw Christina, and I was like, well, why is Christina so special? Why is she had to, but I'm saying all of these things to say that, but the reality of it is, even in all of that, I needed healing. I needed healing from all of that situation that went on. I needed healing. And I feel like the Lord, Timmy, it didn't happen right away. He healed me. He healed my heart from it. And I remember I had a dream about mom, and I always tell Miranda about this. But anyway, I remember she came to me and she said, Esther, you're okay. I don't mind you being here. You can stay here. And I mean, they stay here in the US. And after that, I got this release like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Like I needed her permission. I needed her permission because I felt like everything in my life, I had gotten permission from mommy to do. From, everything I try to please my mother. And I know some people say you do your own thing, but I felt like if I had mommy blessing, it was okay. And I felt like when I had that dream about her and she gave me a blessing, it was okay for me. So, yeah. We can't hear you.
I'm happy that you were able to release that. And like I said, I'm happy that people have gotten to eavesdrop into the types of conversations that we have and that we should be having as adults and as families, not just us. If there's anything that people were to get from this show, I would hope that it begins to spark that opportunity for them to talk about their past and to be able to heal from wounds that may exist within their family unit, personally as well as externally. That's why we do what we do. We encourage conversation. That's the only way you grow. That's the only way you get to understand, even in some instances, why people make the decisions that they do at the time that they make them and how they are healing from their past. And I wanted to make this possible because I wanted each of you to share what your relationship was like with your mother so that you could compare, contrast, and you see by far everybody had the same general consensus about who she was to them, what she meant to them, and how they see her in their lives even as they move forward as adults. Tracy is back. So it's time to wrap up, y'all.
Change the
Like I
name.
told you,
Come back.
this time just slips away. So everybody parting words, what is it that you want to leave with your audience about your mother and just this experience? And we have to do more of this, if not definitely not publicly, but get down to the nitty-gritty of some stuff. So let's start with Sani, because I see you like you moving like so much stuff going through your mind right now. Sani, let's hear your parting words for now.
especially on this Mother's Day. In order, you must put Jesus the center of your life as parents, because that's the only he gave us the kids to direct. You have to let them be aware that there is a God. Um, he needs to be the center. He needs to be the center. I thank God for my mother. I thank God for her. I'm sitting here and still reminiscing, but may God descend her.
Okay, let me go to Christina. Go ahead.
I guess I'd say my parting words would be to the audience, um, trust God. Mommy was a single mother, and each of us, we've seen the hand of God move in her life in tremendous way, from provisions to physical healing to when she rededicated her life to the Lord, persons in church mentoring her, helping her with us, helping provide food for us. Y'all remember feeding the whole man? Persons in the communities, Sister Brenning and so many others, Miss Nash and so many others helping her with us. God made a way when Mummy chose to rededicate her life to God, commit herself to God. God made sure that her needs and our needs was taken care of. And so I want to encourage the single mothers or their mothers generally, no matter how hard, how difficult it gets, trust God. Not only trust God, find yourself in the house of God and among a company of people, and God will see to it that your needs are taken care of. I also want to say to each of you, my sisters, I love you. You are all beautiful examples. You're amazing sisters, and I look up to each and every one of you. Some of you have been, like I said, Tracy and Sani. You've been equally as a mother to me, and I honor you today. And I want to, I just honor you, and I love you all.
Okay. Let's go to pick it up, Tracy. Because if I leave you for the last, you can really preach. So pick it up, Tracy, because Esther got to come after you.
Well, if I don't get cut out. And so, for what I would like to leave with the audience is something, Christine, that Mommy taught us how to trust God. And she didn't just say it; she put it in action. And my biggest Sani and I, we did that. We put it in action even as children. And so I want to say that no matter what happens, trust God. Take Him at His word. In all of the difficulties that Mommy has gone through with raising her children, she never lost her praise. Whatever happened, she always found a song to sing. And if you a song can change your whole environment, along with the word of God and a song in your heart. Listen to me. Even like the song she loved to sing, God will make a way somehow. And all you got to do is trust Him. And when you don't even see Him, continue to trust Him. Your praise will keep you going. Your praise will confuse your enemy. Your praise will strengthen you. And never forget to kneel in prayer, because in every time we had devotions, we had to kneel. We didn't sit and pray. You had to kneel and pray. There are some times in your life when you just got to get on your knees and talk to God. And that's the sustaining power there for me. And I encourage anyone out there, anything that you're facing, anything that you believe is challenging, keep trusting God. Learn how to pray and never ever lose the praise that you have.
Okay. Final words, Esther.
I would say learn to live in community. I think Christina alluded to it. Don't live in isolation. Don't suffer in silence. Just plant yourself and your kids in the house of the Lord. I remember there were times when mommy, even when before she started going regularly, we were there, you know. And so plant your kids. The best thing you can do is plant them in the house of the Lord. Allow them to be a part of something, some type of godly, curriculum or godly organization. and allow their extracurricular activity to come second base, or secondary to what they're doing. Um, and like I said, just find a village to help you groom your kids and to help you grow them. Find mentors, even at an early age. Find mentors for them, and trust God. First of all, we can't live off of our parents' God. We can't live of their religion, because all of us, even though we grew up in the house of the Lord, even though we grew up in the things of God, we had to find that personal relationship with God ourselves. We had to experience God in a tangible way for ourselves. And so that's the best thing I can tell you. And I thank God to this day that mommy planted us. We didn't just go to church, she planted us in the house of the Lord.
Awesomeness. The only thing that I want to say is, for mothers out there, I think it's important that you have an authentic and genuine relationship with your children. What I know about growing up in this Bahamas is that that was not something that was practiced often. Transparency, authenticity. If you do that, you can save your children a whole lot of grief moving forward. There is a connectivity in knowing where you came from, in understanding why you are. And when you don't get that, I believe it sends people on a track where they're constantly, like the scripture says, searching but never coming to the knowledge of the truth, because they're constantly looking and trying to identify and connect with someone or something that they believe they can relate to. So I want to encourage mothers and parents in general to be authentic with your children, to be transparent with your children, to share with your children who you are. Not just who you are today because you're born again and Holy Ghost filled and sanctified, but share your journey with them. Share with them some of the things that you may have had challenges with, even if it weren't physical challenges, just mental and emotional challenges. I believe that's how you grow. I believe that's how they will grow and become better people when they see you in 3D, when they see you in 3D, and not in 2D, not as a flat one-dimensional person, but as a three-dimensional person, a part of the triune, that spirit, soul, and body all working in unison. So I encourage mothers in particular, those who are raising children on their own. Esther alluded to it, seek community. Make sure that there's a village involved in their lives, and make sure they know who you are, whose they are, and why it's necessary, the steps that you took in your life and the steps that they need to take to know this God that you've come to know and love and serve. And so thank you, ladies, so much. Happy Mother's Day once again. This has, y'all don't even know, my heart is overwhelmed, like some people say. But my heart's overwhelmed. Seriously, I'm so really, really grateful to see all of your beautiful faces in one place at this moment. We have to do this lots more because there's so much more among us that we need to share and connect with each other more. Sheena, if you out there watching, we miss you. We miss you. And next time when we do something, make sure you in the house. Let me see some more. Any more comments? Okay, Erica says she made the best comforters, the best sticky buns, the best potato and cassava bread. She said she really missed her. So it was like everything was the best. Monique Pratt says, great show, ladies. Enid Ember said, hey, Enid, beautiful talk show, ladies. Happy Mother's Day. Remember, those of you who are interested, Esther is designing hats. The name of our website, and I'll type it in, is www.house of shirle.com. House of Shirley. And you can get a discount on anything that you may see to your liking. But this has been another edition of Swerve with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again next week, same time, same place. Have a wonderful week and good night, everybody.